Hi, my name is Will and welcome to the Distorted Transmission for today. Tadpole was a New Zealand rock band from Auckland led by female vocalist Renee Brennan. The band formed in June 1994 and broke apart in late 2006 after numerous changes to the lineup, and they've just recently reformed in March 2024. That's about all I could get out of Wikipedia. But on a small personal note, I think Tadpole's very first show was supporting a band called the 12 Color Pencils that I drummed for around 1994 and 1995. We imploded almost immediately after that first show. We had an argument. I got drunk, refused to play drums well, and we just parted ways. First show, it was over. And then I left for Japan about 4 years later, only to return to New Zealand in 2012 to discover that the little opening band Tadpole had become enormous. Which was kind of cool. I only remember there being a rather handsome bassist and a cute female singer everyone was pretty keen on at the time. So that must have been Paul Matthews, who went on to form I Am Giant and produced a massive catalogue of albums for other bands, including Blind Spot, 660, Op Shop, etc. The attractive vocalist, I guess, was Renee Brennan. I can't remember her name. Although I can't remember much beyond a few blurred memories at this point because it was 30 years ago and we only hung out socially a few times. But today I'm talking to Chris Yong, who sort of came into the band a little later on. So maybe he can shed some light on all the things that I've forgotten. How's it going?
G'day. Well, hey, look, I will certainly do my best to help plug in what gaps I can.
Lovely. All right. So, Tadpole has reformed to support Devilskin on their 2024 We Rise tour. Can you give me the rundown of the members that Tadpole now consists of?
Tadpole consists of myself, Chris Yong. We've got Dean Lorden on drums. We've got Shannon Brown on bass. And we've got Kevin May, otherwise known as DJ Critical. Now, we haven't replaced our singer, but what we've done for this tour is we've asked the guest vocalist Emma Dilemma to come front the band. So this is Tadpole with Emma Dilemma, and we just want to make everyone know about that and make it really clear that that's what this is, and it's a chance to bring the Tadpole experience to the live stage again.
I noticed that on every single date of the show, it says Tadpole featuring Emma Dilemma on every single one. I was like, well, they're really hammering that home. So I guess that's the reason why. Yeah.
Well, we just wanted to make it really clear that Renee is not a part of this tour. And obviously, she is the voice. Like 20 years ago when we were doing our thing, she's the voice. She was the lyricist. She was the heart of the vocal part of Tadpole. And we just wanted to make it really clear that she chose not to be a part of this reform tour. And we were like, okay, well, maybe this tour might not go ahead. But I've been speaking with Renee, and she gave her blessing for us. Hey, why don't you try and see if you can find a guest vocalist? So that's kind of how it came about. If it wasn't actually for Renee, the original vocalist, giving her sort of support behind this, we wouldn't even be doing what we're doing right now. So that's kind of how it came about. And then when we had, okay, could we do this? Could we find someone that would be able to perform the songs live and do it justice? And we were asking around the place. And all of our research led to this younger Cantabrian who certainly made a mark in her own way, and that was Emma Dilemma. And so that's how this came about. It's a collaboration between some original members of Tadpole and Emma to sing live for the tour.
All right, so let's sort of go back in time. I was actually, to be honest, just between you and me and and everyone watching, I suppose, is that I was actually hoping to like chat to an original member as well, simply because I wanted to get an idea of what the band was like at the very beginning. When did you actually come into the band? Which year was that?
Oh, okay. So I became a part of the band in 1999. So there was a few years before that. For those that don't know, there was a bit of a revolving door with musicians in Tadpole in the early days. And I guess in this particular instance, it was just a case of finding the right pieces to the puzzle. At the time, it's kind of hard, any sort of band, keeping a band member together when it's not a serious endeavor. And so in the early stages, which I can't talk to because I wasn't there, but I can only speculate, that, there were members that they added their influence to some of the early songwriting. And like I said, it was just a case of finding the combination of members that would be able to add some longevity to it, and it became what it was. So,
where was the band at when you actually came into the band?
Tadpole was just starting to kind of make a name for itself. They had recorded their very first song, which was Blind. And Blind was now just starting to get a little bit of radio airplay at the time. And it just so happened that around that time, they were looking for a guitarist. Their previous guitarist had decided that he was going to call it a day. So that's where I heard about it. Ironically, through Paul Matthews. So we were good mates back then. And his band had toured with Tadpole at the time. And he was aware that they were looking for a guitarist. So he let me know, and I basically went along, had an audition, got along really well, and that was how I joined. But yeah, at the time, one song out on radio, and it was starting to get a little bit of airplay.
For all intents and purposes, you were basically in the band for all the years that I would say mattered, since you were there when all the albums were recorded and all the sort of the big stuff happened, perhaps.
It was a whirlwind journey. That's all I can say, because it was just at the very early stages. Momentum was starting to build up. Things were starting to happen for the band. And so, as any band member knows, like, once you get a little bit of momentum, if you don't want it to drop off, you've got to keep chipping away. So it's like, all right, what's the next single going to be? We've got to get in, we've got to record that. You've got to do it, do all the steps. And then what's the next one after that? And so you needed to kind of build up a bit of a plan and just keep chipping away. So, it was pretty much nonstop, just hustling for what I can remember. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, are there any interesting tales to tell from that era? Like, were there any sort of, I don't know, little stories about maybe you were playing a show and something funny happened, or sort of behind the scenes stuff that people might find entertaining?
There was an incident where we just finished playing the Blossom Festival in Alexandra, and we were hanging out at the bar there and just making friends, whatnot, after the show. And a couple of girls were like wanting to talk, et cetera, et cetera. And then like, hey, we want to buy you guys a drink. And it's like, okay, great. Anyway, came back with like these pink shots of whatever it was. I honestly don't know. But the the part of the night which is a bit infamous now is we all like took these shots, but the girl that took these shots, or brought us the shots, I should say, it must have been one shot too many, and she threw up. This is at the time where I was just starting to wear like my red Dickies jumpsuit outfit, and she threw up like this pink vomit on my red outfit, and she was like flabbergasted. She's like, oh my God, I just spewed on Tadpole.
At least the colors were kind of complimentary, I suppose.
So that's one very amusing sort of story. Another thing that's been a really interesting experience was several years later, where we were given the chance to hop on a Hercules plane and go play for the New Zealand Army that was based in East Timor. Essentially, someone had the idea of asking if some entertainers would be willing to fly over and play. We got asked about it and we were like, hell yeah. So my experience of first flying from New Zealand to Australia on a Hercules and then bouncing around Australia in the slow Hercules and eventually going to East Timor, the doors open and it's like we've literally walked into a set of MASH, if anyone remembers that TV show, or it's just like an army, like craziness, like camo nets, army everywhere. It was the most bizarre thing, but it was also one of the most memorable experiences as well. Because I mean, who gets to do that? Fly on a Hercules and go to an army protected zone where they're doing peacekeeping missions. That and obviously playing main stage Big Day Out 2001 goes, those would be like two top memories from that era.
I just had a look at that footage. Actually, it was up on YouTube. I watched that. Looked like a really good show. All right. So what was the height of success in your opinion? Was it maybe the Big Day Out? Would it be around that time, or was it a little bit later on?
Yeah, I would say it would have been probably around about 2001 Big Day Out, just after. It was out, that first album, The Butterfinger, just went absolutely ballistic, and even to this day, I'm honored and humbled that people, whether they know me or not, but they tell me they still listen to that album, they still crank the tracks off it, and to think that was something that we did 20 years ago, but it made a mark with people and they still love that album. So I'd say towards the tail end of that cycle of the first album was probably the height. Yeah.
You have a copy of it right behind you there, I see.
I do. It's the one with the red face, the Butterfinger. So, yeah.
My next question is, I don't know if it's going to get salty or not, but why did the band ultimately decide to split up? Had it just sort of run its course? I'm not expecting you to, be your soul and tell me everything if it was an unpleasant experience, but if it's just relatively public knowledge, then please share.
I'll just caveat this. I wasn't in the band at the time when the band eventually decided to call it a day in 2006. I actually ended up leaving after we'd recorded the second album, which is the Medusa, which is the one with the blue face there, and we'd toured that. Now,
are you trying to say that the reason why the band split up is because you left?
Not at all. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, they soldiered on. Once again, I guess it was just the continuation of the musical chairs of band members. They found another replacement and wrote and recorded the third album. But I can tell, like, my experience was being a 20-something in a successful band, and I think what it really is we were always so busy working the band. We're always so busy hustling and wanting to, do the next thing, that when you have 4 people in a band, 5 people in a band, and you're in each other's space, right? It's like having a relationship with, 4 or 5 people at the same time. And a relationship with one person can be hard at the best of times. So now you've got the dynamics of all these different people. And ultimately what it was is, I wasn't mature enough at the time. I can only talk for myself. I wasn't mature at the time to be able to open up about maybe some of the frustrations that were starting to happen in the band. And rather than having internal band counseling sessions and being able to address everything, because we're so busy, we just kind of kept sweeping all these like little things underneath the carpet. And because they never really got addressed in an open way, it just eventually led to things fracturing. And for me, getting to the point where it's like, I wasn't enjoying being in the band anymore. It wasn't because of the band stuff. I loved the band stuff, but it was just the dynamic and my reasons for wanting to be in there had changed, and it just wasn't fulfilling. But I can talk about this in hindsight now, is that I was a 20-something-year-old and I really did not know how to address these kind of relationship frictions when they arose.
I think it was also like a different era. Maybe these days people are more upfront with their feelings and expressing themselves and all that stuff. Maybe 20 years ago, guys didn't really open up as much, maybe. People tend to just sort of keep it bottled up and go, oh, well, sweet, I'll just leave. It's easier than dealing with it.
Maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, look, obviously I'm a lot older now, and, really realized the importance of being able to communicate. So, but yeah, I'd just say, look, just young, silly,
He's still
not
silly.
knowing. Oh, maybe I'm still silly. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of what led to me sort of calling it a day back then. Yeah.
Could you give me a list of the shows that you're doing with Devilskin? I believe you've got them there for me.
Yes. So this tour, which we are stoked to be able to play alongside Devilskin. It's their 10th anniversary tour for their album We Rise. The shows are 30th of May, we're going to be at the ILT Stadium in Invercargill. 31st of May, we're going to be at the Athenaeum Hall at Arrowtown. And 1st of June, which is a Saturday, we're going to be at the Union Hall in Dunedin. So that's the first run of shows. That's the first weekend. The next show is going to be the following week on Saturday, 8th of June, and that's going to be at the Christchurch Town Hall. Then the third week of the tour, Thursday, 13th of June, we're going to be in Wellington at the Hunter Lounge. Friday, 14th of June, we're going to be at Fly Palmy Arena in Palmerston North. And then Saturday, 15th of June, we're going to be at the Toy Toy Opera House in Hastings. 2 more weekends to go. Next weekend, Friday, 21st of June, we're going to be at the Factory in Hamilton. And then Saturday, 22nd of June, we're going to be at the Mayfair in New Plymouth. And then the last weekend of the tour, Thursday, 27th of June, we're going to be at Stadium Lounge in Mount Maunganui. Friday, 28th of June, we're going to be at the Paeroa Brewing in Whangaparoa. And then the very last show is going to be on Saturday, 29th of June, and that is the Power Station in Auckland.
Nick from Devilskin also had trouble saying Paeroa. It's quite hard to say that A and then go into an O and then back to an A without any consonants to help you in the middle, right? Paeroa. See, I fucked it up already. Paeroa. Yeah. It's a hard one. Well done, you.
Kindly.
Are you sort of thinking that maybe you guys are going to get together, maybe do some more music, or is this just like a one-off thing? Maybe you'll reform for a couple of tours when asked? What's the plan?
We don't really have any set future plans at this stage. I mean, if I'm to be honest, we didn't even think we would get to this point that the band would reform and tour at all. Maybe if I just give a bit of context as to how we even got to this point in the first place. So it actually started a couple of years ago where myself, Dino, and Renee, we kind of reconnected. And this was over the possibility of being able to get our rights back to the first 2 albums that we recorded, which was the Butterfinger and the Medusa. Now, if anyone knows how record label contracts work, if a record label funds your album, they own the rights forever, even though they fund you to record it. So they own the rights. Now, we happened to come together and thought, hey, there might be a way that we can actually get the rights so we could own the rights to those albums. Long story short, we went through this process and we were able to do that. And now, because we owned the rights to those first 2 albums, and the third Tadpole album was independent anyway, so that meant we now owned the entire back catalogue for Tadpole's music. And because we were able to do that, we were now able to release product again, which had been missing for like the longest period of time. There'd been nothing Tadpole related available for the longest time, and we just thought maybe this might be of interest to those that remember the music. So we compiled a 4 CD box set, which basically we called the Tadpole Collection, which had all 3 studio albums and a 4th album of B-sides. And we released that a couple of years ago. Last year, we released the Butterfinger album, our first album, on vinyl. And now we're just about to release the second album, the Medusa, on vinyl. So we wouldn't have been able to do this had we not been able to get the rights to the music in the first place. Now, as a consequence of all that, and I guess this activity that there was music product stuff happening with Tadpole again, we started seeing a lot of online and social media conversations. Oh, wouldn't it be great if they got back together, they could do a tour, blah, blah, blah. We honestly didn't think that was going to be possible. It was something that had been discussed, a number of times over the years, but it just wasn't something that actually happened. And then what it was is, Devilskin's management got in touch with us and put an offer out there saying, hey, if the band could reform, would you like to come out on tour with us? We're thinking of doing something in 2024. So then this started these conversations internally, and that's where we got to the point that I explained earlier, where it's like this idea of being able to bring Tadpole's music to the stage again and to experience it live. Yes, it's not probably, it will be like a big nostalgic experience. But what if we could do that once again? Like, give that to like those that remember the music, those that it meant so much to them, just deliver that live experience. And so I was talking about this idea with Renee, and I was really hoping that she would be like, okay, let's do it. But she had her own reasons, and she was like, I'm not interested in being a part of a kind of reformed band. But if you guys want to try with a guest vocalist, I support that. So that's how it led to this. And then, as I explained earlier, we found Emma Dilemma. Actually checked with Renee, hey, we found this person. What do you think? And she was like, she's great. So that was really important for us because, we wanted to make sure that Renee was okay with what was going on and supported it as well. So that's really how it came about. And that's why right now I can't tell you what any future plans are, because all we're looking to do is give people that nostalgic experience, hear the Tadpole songs live again, and we're going to do it as authentically as possible. We've basically got the band there, and we've got, Emma Dilemma, who's a sick vocalist, who's younger than us and probably going to be more energetic on stage than us 40-year-old dudes. So I think she's just going to rock the stage, bring an energy. And look, anyone that remembers Tadpole's live shows back in the day, it was all about live, energetic shows, and we don't want to let up on that. So
maybe the band could become like, Tadpole, because as you said, like in the early days and even in the later days, it was like a revolving door. So it's possible that Tadpole could be revived and become something else. You never know. Then again, if it was just a satisfying experience to relive the good old days and everyone had a great time, perhaps that's enough. Who knows? I guess time will tell.
Yeah, well, what happens after that, we'll just wait and see.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
So I guess we'll leave it here. Thanks very much, Chris, for chatting with me tonight. Best of luck with the tour, and fingers crossed that maybe it might, revitalize some old flame and you'll get back into it. Who knows?
Who knows? Hey, look, thanks for the chance to have this chat. It was awesome.
Cool. Say goodbye to everyone. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Catch you out on the road.
Cool. And thanks for watching.